Ever noticed this? The highest performers are the ones answering emails on Sunday, fixing last minute issues, just quickly reviewing decks over the weekend. Meanwhile, the leaders, yeah, they log off. Same company, same pressure, but very, very different weekends. Today, we're talking about why high performers get weekend work and leaders don't. And no, it's not because leaders care less. I'm Sophia, and I help driven women climb in corporate without burning themselves out in the process. And if you're someone who keeps saying, I'll rest after this push, and pushes never end, and you keep repeating this cycle, this episode is for you. And just a quick heads up, this video is actually part of a 1 week experiment that I want to invite you to. It's not a life overhaul, not a personality transplant, just 7 days of leading yourself a little differently so your weekends stop becoming collateral damage. We'll come back to this at the end, but listen with that lens when we get there, okay? So let's jump into it, right? There's this myth that the best people do the most. And it's a quiet rule that many of us learned early, at least I did. If you're capable, guess what? You pick it up. If you're reliable, you stay late. If you're good, you handle it. High performers are rewarded with more access to problems, more authority. No, not more authority. More control? No, not more control, just more spillover. So weekends become the overflow container, right? Because you spend the whole week doing everyone else's job, you end up doing your job on the weekend. Let me talk about what's really happening here. High performers, they don't get weekend work because they're inefficient. They get weekend work because they absorb ambiguity. You're good at seeing straight through all of the misinformation. They rescue unclear decisions instead of letting that unclear decision that a VP made just sit there and let the decision makers, the SVPs, figure it out. You say, oh, I've seen this before. These are my recommendations. So here's what's really happening. High performers don't get weekend work because they're inefficient. They get weekend work because they absorb ambiguity. When the SVP said, hey, do A and then do B, but you're like, these things don't even make sense. You, the high achiever, you know what makes sense. So that way you jump into that role instead of just letting it sit there. High achievers, what do? We rescue unclear decisions. Man, that deadline is coming up. The VP didn't make a decision. Let me go ahead and do some pre-work just to help out the team. Us high achievers, what do? We patch leadership gaps. No, leadership should be owning those gaps. If you as the SVP, senior vice president, if you as the senior manager don't know what you're doing, why am I bridging the gap? I will wait for your direction. You know what we're doing? We're solving execution problems. We're not making directional decisions. And that's the key difference. High performers, we catch balls. It's like volleyball. Oh, let me get this ball that's in the air, right? But you know what leaders do? They decide which balls get thrown. Weekend work, it lives in that gap. Like, I can't tell you how many women say this to me. Like, I don't even mind the work. I just hate that it follows me home. Does that sound familiar? They're not behind, they're not disorganized. They just operate in a role where everything is theirs by default. No container, no cutoff, no protected thinking time. So the work expands right into Sunday. Look, let's name it. High performers are rewarded for responsiveness, availability, saving the day. Leaders are rewarded for judgment, prioritization, trade-off decisions. Like leaders don't avoid weekend work because they're better rested. No, no. They avoid it because decisions were made earlier. Scope was clarified upfront. Ownership was explicit. They closed loops before Friday. This is important. If you're realizing, oh, I'm doing leadership level work without leadership level authority, like what's happening here? I want you to type leverage in the comments. Just type that word because leverage, not effort, is what protects weekends. Now, let me tell you why weekend work is a signal and not a flaw. Now, weekend work, that is data, and we can we can do something with data, right? It tells you where decisions are unclear, where roles are fuzzy, and where you're overdoing it or overfunctioning. It's not proof that you're indispensable. It's proof the system is leaning on you too much. And the uncomfortable truth is, if you keep catching everything, no one learns to throw differently. Wow, that hit. Okay. So, how do you shift from reliable to directional? It isn't about doing less, it's about shifting when and how you engage. I want you to start asking, what decision needs to be made so that this doesn't land on me later? Yeah, let's be selfish. I want you to ask, what clarity could prevent this from becoming weekend work? And then also ask yourself, is this execution or is this direction? Because leaders, the work that leaders do, their work goes upstream, right? This is the difference. Most women don't burn out because they can't handle pressure. Mm-mm. They burn out because they're carrying pressure that isn't theirs to carry. Leadership isn't working nonstop. It's deciding when and what doesn't get your time. Hmm. Now, if you want to test drive a new way of leading yourself without blowing up your reputation or your role, I created a 7-day mini challenge. It's a 1 week experiment spotting overfunctioning, practicing micro boundaries and shifts, how work lands on you. Not forever, not perfectly, but just long enough to interrupt the pattern. Tell me in the comments, what was the last weekend you truly logged off mentally? I want to know. I'll see you in the next one.